Now, you guys might know what this story is based on the title or thumbnail. Either way, it's a pretty serious story, but let's get into it. Now, before we actually get started, I want to show you guys this comment I got whenever on Google Plus. I shared the update video to the kidnapping and torture situation on Google Plus, and this person commented and said, "When the special needs black kid was anally raped by racist white teens, were you just as upset? Did you blame the Klan or white nationalists? Did you blame the conservatives? Were you angry when these white teens did not get any jail time? If not, you're a hypocrite." And obviously I responded and told them that there's a lot of assumptions to that comment. Now I want to show you guys these two screenshots to show that, the day I seen this post on Facebook, I screenshotted this first one. As you can see, the post is an hour old. You can see the amount of likes and reactions, comments, and shares. And then the next one, you can see that it was dated January 6th, which means it was taken. I took it today, which is January 7th. And you can see that there's more likes and comments and shares and all those things. And I just want to show you guys that, I want to show you that comment first because I'm going to talk about that type of thought process. And then I want to show you these two screenshots to show that I'm not making this video in response to that Google Plus comment. All right, guys, I just want to get that out of the way. Now, if you don't know what we're about to talk about, back in 2015, this group of 3 dudes attacked their teammate in a locker room and did some fucked up shit, some rape stuff to this guy, and that's what she's talking about. Or I'm assuming, I don't know, I think it's a she, I don't know, but they attacked him. He's black. I'm assuming all 3 of them are white. The main dude in the case that we're talking about in this video is white, and that's what she's referencing. And I hate that shit because, for starters, I was talking about the kidnapping, torture thing in that video, and she brings up this other thing that's very fucked up, I agree, but for starters, in that case, there's no proof that it's racially motivated. He is black, and I'm assuming all 3 of them are white, so it definitely looks like a hate crime, but there's no proof that it is, whereas in the torture kidnapping case, there's absolutely proof it's a hate crime. They're saying fuck white people in the video, and making the dude say that he loves black people, and fuck white people, and all those things. That is definitely a fucking hate crime. Whether or not this isn't really the point. I mean, if it is, it makes it more fucked up. But it's more about the act and the case and his verdict and everything that's happening to him. It doesn't really matter. And trying to talk about other things when we're talking about this kidnap torture situation and trying to bring up other things where black people didn't get all they could get out of the case isn't what this is about. People are trying to dumb this other story down because it was a white guy in the video, and it's just like anytime something happens to a non-black race. A lot of the BLM community and black community got to be like, what about black people? What about this time this happened? And that's not important right now. We can talk about that at a different time. Right now, this did happen, and this was a hate crime. Alright, so the article title reads, "White Teen Avoids Prison Time for Brutal Coat Hanger Rape of Disabled Black Student." Yes, it's a very dark article. This was updated on December 20th. That's why I think I've heard about the story before, back because it happened in 2015. I'm pretty sure I heard about the story, but I kind of forgot about it. I assumed it was open, it was a closed case. But I guess this article was put out on the 20th of December. The 18-year-old took a plea deal to avoid a life in prison trial conviction. After forcibly raping a mentally disabled teammate with a coat hanger in 2015, 18-year-old John R.K. Howard has taken a plea deal to avoid jail time for his unspeakable actions. Howard, along with 2 other members of his high school football team in Dietrich, Idaho, sexually assaulted their African-American teammate Antoine McDaniel in the locker room of their Idaho high school last October. Facing the possibility of life in prison should he have been convicted at trial, Howard pled guilty to forcible sexual penetration by use of a foreign object, the Twin Falls Times News reports. Look, I don't particularly like doing these types of stories either. They're very dark and serious, but at the same time, because of how serious they are, I like to talk about them because I like to be a news outlet on the channel. It doesn't always need or want to be comedy and funny videos. And shit like this, unfair cases like this, need to be talked about more and more. Need to be more widespread. I mean, people need to know about it so we can talk about it, and hopefully justice comes. While in court on Friday, Howard accepted the charge and will be sentenced to 2 to 3 years of probation and will be required to serve more than 300 hours of community service. Should he complete his sentence without violation or of probation or committing any future crimes, he could have his conviction eradicated completely. Any violation of the probation terms could result in Howard serving 10 years in prison with a fine of up to $50,000. Howard received his official charge in May after McDaniel testified that the group of teens subdued him in the locker room one day after practice under the pretense that the boys wanted to give him a hug. Obviously, this guy's an absolute piece of shit and deserves all the worst things in life to happen to him. He should be going to jail for life. Now, what I don't understand, and what has me so fucking pissed about this, What kind of lawyer does this guy have? How do you go from a possible sentence of, life in prison to 2 to 3 years of probation and 300 hours of community service? How the fuck does that add up at all? How does he get 0 time? Yeah, he might fuck up and get, later on in the article, we learned that he might get, some jail time if he fucks up during probation. But how do you go from a life sentence to that? It doesn't make any fucking sense. I don't care. Maybe he's underage at the time. Maybe he's 17 at the time, and that's why. I don't know. I'm not somebody who knows the law that well, but it doesn't make any fucking sense to me. After being lured in, a fellow athlete shoved a coat hanger into his anus while Howard proceeded to kick the hanger 5 or 6 times for deeper penetration. The Idaho Deputy Attorney General Casey Hemmer told the courts on Friday that while the Howard needs to be held accountable for his actions against McDaniel, his office doesn't believe it's appropriate for Mr. Howard to suffer the consequences of a sex offender. Hemmer went on to claim that there was no racial motivation behind Howard's actions, stating, "I would say that there are things that we found going around the school and that locker room involving a lot of parties here that had racial undertones," he said. "But it's not our belief that this was a racially motivated crime. This was more of a vulnerable victim-motivated crime. I think it probably would have happened to anybody that was in the same kind of circumstances and mental state as the victim here." My guess is that he was 17 at the time, because I don't know why else he wouldn't be charged with a sexual offender assault. All 3 of them should be. I don't care who was the one who did the act itself. They're all 3 involved. They should all 3 be charged with this. Fucking obviously. Who gives a fuck about this kid's future? I don't care if it would ruin his future. I call him a kid because he's younger than me. I don't care if it would ruin his life. He needs to go to jail for life anyway, so what's it matter? He could be charged with a sex offender, throw him in jail forever. Like, this isn't like say a kid commits a murder in the right way, they'll be charged as an adult. This is definitely some fucking sick shit. This is some premeditated shit. It has to be. You don't just do this shit for no reason out of nowhere. They had to have picked their target. Knew maybe I don't know how mentally disabled he is. They say he's a teammate, so he's got to be maybe on some sports team of some sort. So maybe he can, he's not like incapable of doing his own stuff. I don't know. Maybe they thought they'd get away with it, but all the same, this shit was premeditated. They should be charged as adults. They should all go to jail for fucking life. They should all be charged as sex offenders, because once they get to prison and those prisoners find out what the fuck they did, there'll definitely be some fucking justice. A local group, Idaho Coalition Against Sexual and Domestic Violence, reacted to the plea charge in a statement which expressed disappointment for the lack of Howard's acknowledgement of committing the act of sexual assault and Hemmer's egregious claim that race did not play a part in the crime. The young man who was brutally violated by 3 high school students has multiple identities that made him a target. His black skin and his disability that made him vulnerable and viewed as less than our dominant culture ideal of masculinity, the Post read. Deputy Attorney General Hemmer's actions and statements dehumanizes the young man who is heinously penetrated and fuels and sanctions our culture of sexism, racism, ableism, domination, aggression, and violence, and in turn the office of the Idaho Attorney General is complicit in state-sanctioned sexism, racism, ableism, and violence. Nothing short of a complete retraction by the Attorney General of Hemmer's outrageous actions and statements and immediate action against Hemmer will be acceptable. Look, I understand that it probably is a hate crime. I won't say whether it is or isn't. More than likely it fucking is. He's black, they're white. But people are so focused on whether or not it's a fucking hate crime. Why does that matter? It does not matter. This dude just needs to go to fucking jail for life. He needs to get these potential charges he had need to happen. There doesn't need to be probation or fucking community service. Just stick him with these charges, put him in jail, and then y'all can talk about whether or not it's a fucking hate crime afterwards. It's so irrelevant. The dude was fucking forcefully raped, and he's mentally disabled. That's the goddamn important stuff. Since the assault, McDaniel has undergone medical treatment for increased paranoia and agitation after an unsuccessful suicide attempt by drinking a toxic fluid following the incident. McDaniel's family has filed a $10 million civil suit against the Dietrich School District for not only the sexual assault, but various other racially charged harassment incidents and abuse he suffered as a student. Howard's official sentencing date is scheduled for February 24th, 2017. Look, I'm sorry, I can't side with the family on this one. While schools definitely need, stricter, more teachers around, or more guardian type roles around, maybe in the locker rooms and stuff, so shit like this can't happen. The school's not at fault for this, and for them, like when this is going down and they're trying to get justice for their son, and get jail time for the people that did this, and then they're trying to hit the school with a $10 million fucking lawsuit. Like, my God, that just looks bad. It looks like they're just trying to milk it for all it's worth. And I'm not saying that they don't deserve to get as much as possible. Don't get me wrong on that. But, like, come on, man. $10 million? Like, that's crazy. It reminds me of recently this YouTuber. I don't know his name. It escaped me right now. He does, like, stunt videos on YouTube. Like, he'll do crazy shit, jump off of high things into pools and shit like that. And recently, he did it and jumped off a building. and landed like his feet hit like the edge of the concrete part of the pool, right on the edge, and then he fell into the pool. And a lot of people, he started GoFundMe and all this other stuff to get stuff, and a lot of people were telling me he should sue YouTube for this because YouTube allows his content to be uploaded, so that in some way they're promoting it. So people telling me he needs to try to sue YouTube for this shit. And obviously in that case, YouTube doesn't have anything to fucking do with it. I mean, they don't really censor a whole lot of things on YouTube. So to try to get money out of these people, it just kind of reminds me of that. Well, now maybe the school is at fault to some degree, you know, but I don't think, like, this does not look good for the family, in my opinion. Maybe I'm wrong on that. Now, they did say that his official sentencing date is February 24th of 2017. Now, I do believe that's the probation and the community service stuff. I'm not 100%. I think that's what that is. If not, I don't know. Maybe there's still a chance if there's enough uproar about this within that time. We still have, roughly 2 months. It's under 2 months, but close to it. I think everybody should, talk about this, bitch about this, call the school district or the courthouse or whatever the case is in that town or that state or whatever, and maybe try to get this shit flipped in some way, because it's not right, and I hate that people think that nobody cares about this, because white kids did this to a black kid, so nobody gives a fuck. Obviously, nobody wants this dude to not be charged with the fucking rape sentence and life sentence and all that shit. Obviously, he deserves to be. It has nothing to do with the racial issues, man. I mean, again, we referenced the kidnapping torture video. While that was definitely a hate crime in that video, it had more to do with them fucking torturing the guy. It had nothing to do with the fucking racial issue, honestly, that much in that video. It had to do with the fucking act, and it's the same case here. Whether the kid was black, white, Asian, anything, it doesn't matter. He got forcefully raped. He's mentally handicapped. This kid, whether he was white or black who did the act, is getting off without the life sentence and no jail time at all. Like, anybody in the situation needs to be charged with it. It does not matter their race. Anyways, guys, this is a pretty serious video. I don't really like doing these videos, but this is something that needs awareness. If you can share the video, that's not something I ever asked for, but this is definitely the word needs to be spread on this for people who didn't know. If you didn't know, I'm glad I can inform you on this, because this is something everybody needs to know, and there needs to be some kind of uproar about it. Anyways, if you want to enjoy the video, thumbs up is always appreciated. Subscribe to the channel if you guys are new. Follow me on Twitter. Links to my social networks are in the description and the outro. Later, guys.
Tell me pretty lies, look me in the face. Tell me that you love me, even if it's fake, 'cause I don't fucking care.